How Bellas. Welcome to Pleasure Principles, Sacred G-Spot Secrets to Igniting Your Magic, Money, Sex, and Business. My name is Sophia Leva-Marie with nurturingdivinebeauty.com, and I'm super honored today to bring forward Anaiya Sophia. She's a Gnostic and a mystic that actually leads the oral tradition of the Sophia lineage, which I am a part of, so I'm truly honored that you're here. She is an author, a Kundalini yoga teacher. She runs an amazing B&B that brings in the sacred feminine and just so many things that I could mention, but we're just truly honored to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you so much, Sophia, for the invitation. And I love saying that name.
I would imagine so, yes. Well, you know, I was thinking on our call today and I was reading this quote from Damien Carrion, and it said, "Sexuality is completely natural. However, mainstream culture and society have falsely turned it into something considered to be controversial and perverse. We should not even condemn, fear, or distort any of the beautiful and sacred properties of nature." And that's truly what we're coming here to chat about today, is the sacred sexual mysteries of what you lead us through. So just going into that briefly, first of all, how did you come upon your own journey into the sacred sexual mystery and teaching others about it?
Well, I think from a very early age, as a child, I had a longing for sacred union and the twin flame and the beloved and all of that romance filled my heart. The next stage of life would have been teenage and 20s. And mixed with a rebellious spirit, I became quite a promiscuous young lady in search of that connection. And I didn't find it. Of course I didn't find it. Now in 2009, when I was 39, so quite later, later in the day, I had an abnormal smear test result. Severely abnormal. So abnormal that the hospital in the UK wanted to perform surgery within days to remove what looked like unnatural precancerous conditions in the cervix. Now I said no, and I bought myself some time because I was moving from the UK to France. And in those 6 weeks before I passed my papers to the French hospital, I did everything I could to address what I knew was already down there. And what was already down there was what I call the Lilith and the Eve, this struggle between my sort of yogic, tender, gorgeous Eve self, all compassionate, all loving, all serving of the masculine, and this radical, wild, and at that time, wrathful Lilith, darker feminine self. And I kept swinging from one to the other, one to the other. And I utterly believe that that condition was what caused my precancerous environment of the cervix. So I went on a big journey, and by the absolute grace of God, Goddess, I got the all clear 6 weeks later. But this was like lifting Pandora's box. I looked in, I healed what I could, enough to be all clear, but the journey continued. It's a bit like the journey of Sophia, you delve in a little bit and then that's it. You're on a big ride.
Yes, absolutely.
So I started to connect the emotions with the physicality, the types of stories and environments that might be down there that we can all share and recognize as Western women. And so I started talking and sharing, and the rest is history.
That's beautiful. And it's really interesting. I have a similar story in that I had fibroid tumors and they gave me 2 weeks to live.
Oh my.
Because of that repression. And part of it was the sexuality, which I, explored later. But it's interesting that was part of my path as well. So it's interesting that that comes up. And you really talk about what I love, divinized sexuality. So making it divine, and that's really what we want to raise it up. We talked about raising the bar of what we're putting ourselves into. So how do we actually start to raise that bar where our communion with ourselves first and then with a partner is truly divine?
Well, I must say I've spent a lot of time reading and listening with Barry Long. He's an Australian tantric teacher. He's not with us anymore, but my God, he left behind a beautiful legacy. And the gist of what I'm understanding is, again, in the West, both man and woman, whether it's whether it's an intentional influence or not, doesn't really matter in this conversation, but apparently we have both become trained to operate fast, to chase the orgasm, to chase the ejaculation, to be self-orientated. If the other one happens to feel pleasure, that's great, but it's not on our agenda. Our agenda is to get in as soon as possible, and a pair of us. Now, I have been that lady, in my 20s, that was how I was making love. Dynamic, raunchy, lustful, fast, more orgasms, more orgasms. And this is very, very damaging to the sacred part of woman, the Eve, if you like. And so what woman has to do is really, realize this other part of her, come into contact with this other part of her, the sacred, the slower, moving more with energy and the invitation and all of that lovely stuff. Then she's got to decide whether she wants that stronger than she wants the other, which I believe is some kind of program. That there is a tendency to just opt for sex, opt for pornography, opt for the vibrator, and miss the whole potential altogether. Keep us busy with this kind of sex thing, and the sacred just becomes this elusive dream that nobody actually gets to touch. So I believe for us to make this transition, it is being led by and initiated by woman. Because I do feel at this stage, man necessarily isn't going to make those changes. I can't really see many men saying, sweetie, slow down, let's breathe. So it's up to the woman to guide the couplage into that frequency.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because even though there's a lot of sensations in the fast and the orgasmic in that, it's also desensitizing. So you have a juxtaposition of, being more kind of out of your body,
yes,
rather than being in your body, which is exactly where you want to be.
Absolutely. And if I may share so beautifully and so vulnerably with you all, only about an hour ago did Pete and I, my husband, come out of this beautiful lovemaking. Because we also have had a little bit of a drought recently. I'm definitely in menopause. Things are changing for the pair of us. I'm 48, he's 55. Things are changing. So we've had a little pause. And this afternoon we came together again. And it was magnificent. A lot of people stand on the threshold wondering, maybe it's not really up to much, that sex is far wilder and far greater. Oh, beloveds, no, it is beyond equal. It is beyond. And the gorgeousness of it is that it's shared. You know, it's a shared love. You really are making love. That is exactly right. You are conjuring up the spirit and force of love, and it lingers, and it heals, and it makes whole.
Mm. And I think so many women, they actually are whole, and they are still having the healing that's so necessary, whether you know it or not. It's, you know, suppressed and repressed, and there's still so much to release so that
Yes.
you can open yourself into that. So
Yes.
how does a woman actually prepare herself first? Because we have to be the one, as you said, the invitation, and the one who actually is able to receive this. How do we start to open that if that's not our conditioning or habit?
The way the path I took was the crystal path. I don't know if a lot of people say you're not really human, you're a fairy. And I sort of agree. I sort of agree. There is this kind of like elemental, Devic, playful nature inside of me. So I've always been very close to crystals. I love crystals, crystals jewelry, crystals all over the house. So I came across the crystal Yoni egg as compared to the jade egg. And I was very, very drawn to the crystals. And that has been definitely one of the biggest tools on my sexual healing journey. So you wear the crystal Yoni egg. It's the same size as a good sized egg from a chicken. You place the larger end up inside of you and you leave it there, and it will come out in its own time when it has completed that first cycle of healing. So when the crystal egg first goes in, it's comfortable. It's like wearing a tampon. It's not uncomfortable. In fact, it's rather nice. When it first goes in there, obviously there's this great weight inside of you. You know, there's a foreign body. There's something there that shouldn't be there. And it draws your attention, literally minute by minute, self-awareness and vigilance to the yoni area, because you can feel it, but it's comfortable. So this is a great beginning because your consciousness is constantly tuning into this area, and you can apply breath and prayers and healing intentions, and you can feel this inside of you. And what it's doing, the crystal being inside is drawing debris and old material from previous lovers, or contracts from mama, or anything that shouldn't be there. Draws it into the crystal egg. Crystal egg comes out maybe hours, maybe days later, and you clear it with salt water or the full moon. This is a great and absolutely safe and sacred way. These are old methods.
Yes, it's definitely one that I've practiced myself. I love my eggs. I have multiple, multiple of them, and I love that you said it's about awareness, because that is where it starts, is being aware of being in your body, of that area that so often we don't connect to until, you know, we're in the process of, we're having sex, or our moon cycle or something like that. That's when we pay attention. But we actually need to have that awareness. And
I often see a lady as a cathedral. So her beautiful face is the stained glass windows. You know, the light, the radiance, the luminosity. Her heart is that gorgeous altar, but her womb is the crypt. Her womb is that place that you descend down the stone steps into that frankincense filled, darkened room with candles. And you go in and all your little hairs go, and a lady, you know, she can walk around like that. You know, the stained glass, the altar, and the crypt. Very nice.
And when you're actually in that space, it actually shines even more. So your countenance changes and you have more of that radiance.
Yes. Yeah.
I know we talked about using that power of the womb and your heart and your voice, so we're actually connecting to all of yourself. How do we actually combine those areas to actually start to create what we desire?
Well, I noticed again at earlier stages of the journey, my heart was pretty good, pretty open, probably from the Kundalini yoga, but there was absolutely a disconnect at the waist. You know, I used to read my books, my Barry Long books, and he'd say something like, "The vagina is a place of love." And I'm like, oh, my vagina is not a place of love. It's a place of fire and passion and intensity. But, you know, there's a very stark difference between the love in my heart and this life force in the yoni. And so I began this journey of what I call the figure of 8. So literally lying on my bed, making a little V with the hands over the womb, and using my breath and intention, I would try to move that gorgeous sacred heart energy down into the yoni and to bring the Shakti and the slightly erotic up into the heart. And at first, Sophia, oh my God, this was volatile because I'm angry, you know, I'm angry. I've got issues down there. And it was like I was attacking myself. I was like a wild cat. But I realized, wow, I had no idea this kind of material, this kind of energy was down there. And slowly, 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 with thanks to music, I had to introduce, you know, inspiring music for me to do this. Because it was like, you know, some sort of civil war inside of my own body. And of course, as soon as the genuine love of the heart actually touched the yoni, up comes the grief, up come the tears, and it was like a bittersweet crying.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a practice. You know,
Yes.
it's not something you can be like, all right, I have 10 minutes. And I have 10 minutes. I'd like to, you know, check this off my list. It's like exactly something where you need to delve deep.
And it's a constant, because we're being bombarded with the old material every day.
Yeah.
And of course, we may think, oh, I'm not buying into that anymore, but we're still absorbing. We're still, it's coming in, you know, a little bit, not as much. So, you know, you have to keep. It's a great thing to do on the new or the full moon. Just check in. Is that yoni loving? Yeah.
Well, it's such a beautiful portrait of what that feels like. I know you were going to gift us with an activation that I would love to have our listeners feel.
Yes.
Some of that we've been talking about. So if you're open to doing that right now, I'd love that.
What, a live one, you mean? Yes. Okay, well, let's do that then, beloved ladies. So if you either lie down or come into a cross-legged, and let's go into that glorious heart, the heart that has most likely opened a little bit with this conversation, especially if you're followers or fans of Sophia. You are with her for a reason. And I do mean this beautiful lady on the end of this call. So now I want us all to take that gorgeous sacred heart presence and drop it down into the womb space. So all the mothers out there, that particular place where your child was starting to form. Imagine that your heart has grown so deep that it actually rests in that place. And for the ladies who haven't had children, it's roughly the same place as where you might get the odd menstrual cramp. And instead of that being a sensation to run from, let it be a sensation to run to. As you carry on doing that with your breath, really bringing genuine and sincere love into the womb space, bringing in a little memory of the temple, the days of the sacred priestesses, where their yoni was a haven, a loving haven and bridge to the divine. That to actually enter such a woman, you would be caressed and cradled in a frequency that was holy divinity. So the sexual act was a vehicle, a bridge. And that woman, that priestess, was so true to her holy work that she safely and authentically delivered that broken, fractured, fragmented, lost and confused being into the gorgeous welcome of the divine. So if you take that love energy a little bit deeper, ladies, into the actuality of the yoni, so the cervix, fallopian tubes, ovaries, G-spot, clitoris, lips, inner and outer, so the whole realm is starting to pick up the fragrance, if you like, of these priestesses and the quality and the vibration, the health and vibration of that priestess's womb yoni, and how that must feel to know that your sexual beingness could also one day, very, very soon, be that bridge. And beloved ladies, then simply just open your eyes as you are still being that. Hmm.
That was beautiful. I felt quite a lot of tears at
Yeah,
first
yeah,
when you said about the bridge. You know, as the energy was flowing through my hands and through my, just through my entire body.
absolutely.
And then the bridge, like it was a crystalline bridge, and then it was covered with roses and yeah. So that was just really beautiful. So thank
Yeah.
you
Thank
for
you.
that.
That was a total in the moment. I forgot we agreed to do that.
It was perfect. It was perfect. It's in that lovely energy of that creation energy. I know we've, you know, in being Sophia, the Mary Magdalene lineage, you know, speaking about one of my favorite books, the Magdalene Manuscript,
Yes.
about how the sexual relationship with Mary Magdalene and Jesus, that actually helped him build his Ka energy so that he could do what he was required to do. And, you know, there's some who know that and some who are, you know, that may be totally a foreign concept. But, you know, bringing that forward that using that energy, starting
Yes.
with yourself and then also a partner, that builds your energy to do what we're here to do in the world.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
And then as we're using this energy, we also talked about aligning it with your sacredness, because we also want to make sure that what we're inviting in and aligning with is that sacredness. So as we're wanting to build this energy, how do we make sure that we actually are aligned with what is our divinity?
Well, I'd like to point out a few truths actually. Every woman, every age, every tradition, every culture, her womb absorbs the essence of whoever it is that she is making love with. So the vibration, the frequency, the tone, the code, and especially so if they ejaculate inside of her. So the seminal fluid is absolutely holding the particular mental state, the emotional tone, and the intention of why this man is inside of you. Now, think about that, ladies. Sometimes that's not so great. There's all sorts of elephants in the room. And now this is going to be inseminated into your womb space, your budding, your blossoming womb space. So I'm definitely not saying don't have any more lovemaking. Not at all. But just be a little bit wise to the actual mental state, emotional tone, and intention. It's not going to be perfect. Of course it's not. It's 2018. It's going to take a while for this download to really settle across the board for everybody to be, evolving in this new way. Just try to avoid the really obvious negative moments. And also when a lady opens, and the more you do work like this, ladies, the more you will be open. So open doesn't mean sexually ready. Open is day-to-day open. The eyes are open, the intuition is open, the heart is open, the womb is open. You're open. The veil is very thin between your true essence and the outside world. So the more open you become, the more closer the physical reality is. So when you're making love, not only do we have to be a little bit mindful of the partner, we also have to take into consideration the environment, because you're going to also take in that. So, for instance, are you in someone else's bed? Are you in the back of the cab? Are you, around the back of the nightclub? Are you in a graveyard? All of these crazy, wow, how wild, how fabulous. All of these moments, we have to be a little bit mindful. How do you think I know about this stuff? Yes. So it's not just a physical act we're looking at. We're looking at a game changer. The whole thing is evolving. And this bridge, this priestess, this temple essence that we just touched on is literally on the next breath, if you choose it. And I believe this is absolutely one of the gifts of the divine feminine. And she's like laying this down. She's shining this down upon the planet, like gorgeous radiant sunlight, saying, beloved children, drink from this chalice. I give thee thy sacred rights to union with me. So all you have to do is like put your little cup up and drink.
Yes. So the sacred erotic rights.
Yes. Yes.
Part of our consciousness.
Yes.
So, you know, that's interesting you brought that up about the environment. I obviously was thinking about your partner and yourself, but I wasn't really thinking about the environment as well as you're taking in that as well. And
Yeah.
that's very interesting. So, you know, when we go towards, as you, we talked about the divinized sexuality, really making it a conscious choice, like all of it, your partner, your environment,
Yes.
your preparation for it.
That's right. That's right. Those priestesses, you know, when they were expecting someone to come into the temple, they spent the whole afternoon getting ready. Bathing, anointing, the right tone, the right frequency to that beautiful battle-weary man fresh off the field. I mean, technically, she doesn't have to do anything. He would just walk into that environment and already having cascades of peace and feeling of home. I'm home. I've got home. I've managed to get here. She hasn't even looked at him yet, let alone put her hand against his skin. That makes me a little bit teary.
It does. I've been drawn to reading Queen Esther, and as you said, the preparation, I believe it was a year before she was to meet the king. So I mean, that was, you know, in 2018, we don't really have that kind of time, but but we can bring more consciousness into what we're creating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as we're, you know, preparing with the intention of for ourselves, how do we actually make ourselves a sacred vessel? Because it does actually have to start with ourselves.
Yes. Well, my previous life, if you like, before all of this, I was a fashion designer in London. So I love to beautify. I love to dress up. And, you know, I like taking photos. I like taking photos because I like to create beauty. And this would be a wonderful thing for a circle of ladies. You know, get together, 5, 6, 7 of you, dear friends, you know, trusted friends, and send each other beautiful photographs. Spend the whole day beautifying and be brave. You know, don't just do like a cute selfie, like really, you know, get into it. Play my favorite is Peruquai, beautiful lady from Australia. Play your music, dance a little bit, even have a little glass of wine if that's what it needs to loosen you up. Put on your dress, lift your hair in a certain way, be brave, do that look. Do the look, you know the one, take the photo. Now, in that photo is radiance and ecstasy. The minute your friend opens the photo, it's going to pass into her. You mark my words. She will yelp. She will go, oh! Now that is energy. You have now just done what the priestess does to the battle-weary warrior. You have passed a little something to your friend. Your friend is now going to feel inspired. Now she's going to do it. And she's going to send one back to you. And, you know, as you open your photo, you will feel a little sparkle of something, that Shakti. So sister is imbuing sister. And that's how we do it. Instead of conquer and divide, we come together and we bring back our Shakti. We encourage, inspire, and we lift each sister up. And then you will, at first you'll be a bit like, she's more beautiful, or she's taller, or blonder, or whatever. That's the old program. Then you will genuinely, really start to enjoy her becoming. You will. You will. Because back in the days of the priestesses, that's what they did. If they noticed that one of their girls was starting to go down a little bit, doubt herself, question herself, get a little depressed or something, they would come along and erotically put her back into an energy of ecstasy. Not because they're raving lesbians, but because they know the secret of keeping this woman alive. And we've forgotten all of that about that. And we fear it when we see it in a lady, instead of celebrate.
It's true. The sexuality is the vitality.
Yes.
I love that you bring up the sisterhood, because that is also a missing component, especially in this. It's starting to, there are little blossomings, but it's not as mainstream as would be for great things.
Yes.
I love that. And as we're creating this and coming together with our sisters and uplifting each other, how do we use this to work into the, I believe you said, the fierce feminine, and really finding your voice and finding your path? Because this isn't just about, your sexuality and your relationships, but it's really how you're being in the world and what we're here to create as sisters and brothers, and really change the world. So how do we actually use this to be fuel?
Well, if you imagine yourself as a thermometer, so this Shakti, this energy I keep speaking about, this feminine life force energy, is like the mercury, and it's going up. As your temperature rises, so it's going through the root, through the sacral. So we've just been talking about sacral and solar plexus. It's coming up into the heart, so the heart's opening. The expression of love is deep and rich and unyielding, and you're not frightened anymore of being hurt. You're like, hurt me, because I've got to love you at this level. And then eventually it's gonna start, this serpent power is gonna come up to the throat, and it's gonna be like threatening to explode. Now, I do feel the throat is another area that is filled with suppression. Now, I might be saying that because I'm a Brit. I'm British, and by golly, we have a lot of suppression here in our voice and speaking the truth, and you just stop being so bloody polite. So this is where I find myself now. This is wanting to open, absolutely. And I'm looking at the areas where I close it, where I'm nervous and frightened. And it has very much been authority. Police, government figures, doctors, anyone who seems to have an authority, male authority over me, that can be an area where I go back again. So that's definitely the next stage of the journey.
Well, it's not, it's conditioning. It's cultural. It's embedded in the female psyche that, we're supposed to serve, others come first, that you're to listen, that you're supposed to be the good girl, all these different things that come into play that do cause us to close down both our womb and that Shakti energy, as well as that throat energy, and wanting to express ourselves.
And
to connect those, as you said, the power of the womb, the heart, and the voice. Start to really work with those. Will actually create and then shine out into reality.
There's a phrase going around at the moment, the fierce feminine, which is a name or a description of, you could say, Kali, the Black Madonna, the Dark Mother. So it's sacred rage, it's sacred outrage, and it's so powerful. But when you actually look at it with great consciousness and clarity, even though it's come out at full pelt, it actually hasn't harmed, humiliated, or judged anyone. So it's not anger. You know, you're not biting someone's head off on purpose because you, revenge. It is completely clean and free of that. And its intention is it's not harm in any way, but it is to stop whatever is happening right there, right now. And the feminine, women, because we do have a more charge, more velocity in our emotional ability to express. Again, so it's a bit like, you know, raising the bar in sexuality. The woman has to be the guardian of you, if you like, of this new way of expressing themselves sexually. And my understanding is that it's the woman, because she's got the emotional power, that also has to take this step on behalf of the fierce feminine. So men obviously have feminine energy too. They will come to this, but it looks like womankind is going first. Because it's not fierce feminine. It's not a logical argument. It's not an argument. It's not logic. No way. It is wild and chaotic and unpredictable and spontaneous. But when that one has finished their dialogue, you just kind of look back and you go, okay, I got that. I got that. Yeah, alrighty, message received. And you do not question it. Not because you're in fear, but because she's spoken truth and you know it. And you sort of like sheepishly walk away with your tail between your legs because truth has just been spoken. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not harmful, it's potent.
No.
And it starts to burn away all the places where we come from duty or I ought to, or this is how I'm supposed to please or say sorry.
Yes.
You know, but actually speaking from, as you said, truth.
Yes. Yeah. And this, you know, hopefully is going to go is far wider than the personal and into the collective and start addressing, you know, global issues. You know, the weapons system, the animal rights, the human rights, the, you know, the fairness rights. That's a silly word. Yeah. So that's my prayer. And that's my prayer for myself. You know, my voice is open now to my nearest and dearest. I'm not really too afraid of anyone around me. What I want to do now is really show up for these more global matters. You know, can I speak this freely to Donald Trump? I'd like to think I can. I'd really like to think I can.
Well, I know you're such a beautiful voice for the Sophia and for the divine feminine. I know you're actually working on a book coming out. So what are you sharing with us next?
The next one is called The Fierce Feminine. I had to put it in twice. Like, she's like really fierce. And I'm not sure what the strap line yet is. It could be one woman's quest to find her authentic voice, but her with a capital H. Because I really want to make clear that this isn't about thrashing out our own personal anger. Because if it's picked up in that way, nothing's going to change. We're just going to swing over into a matriarch state. And I don't feel that's what's being offered to us. I think we've always gone from one to the other. And maybe now it can be both. It can be that sacred marriage of masculine and feminine, above and below and in and out. So yeah, I just want to make that point clear. But what I really want to make clear is how the other strapline could be fierce feminine and the many ways we silence her. So I'm going to go through the chakras and just the ways that we, us ladies, can shut her down. Like, compiling and compromising and settling and putting up with this and putting up with that. Whereas we have to be these gate openers in these next year or so. So as inspiring as I can possibly make the written word to be.
Well, I can't wait to read it. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I know in honoring, what we've opened up here today, you actually have a beautiful free gift for our listeners.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, beautiful.
Well, do you happen to know which one it is? Do you have a little note there? Or did we say we'd pick it in the moment?
In the moment.
Great. Then in that case, I would like to share the transmission Taking the War Out of Man. So this is a beautiful guided transmission. So basically all you have to do is get your free gift, lie down in the dark, be lovely, warm and cozy somewhere, and just listen to the spoken journey. And we'll go on a very nice journey together where you are, well, in the transmission, you're both actually. In one moment, you are that battle-weary warrior. Even though you're a woman, we're still very heavily loaded with masculine energy. So, you'll recognize the state that he comes into that temple in. Then you'll change. Then you'll be the priestess with the lovely warm Yoni that takes you to the lap of God. And you'll just move and move and move, masculine, feminine, until you are one. And the transmission will end there. Now, I do believe if you're carrying I call it temple codes or temple memories, you know that you've done this before. You're looking for that permission, that acknowledgement, that confirmation. I think you're going to find it in this transmission. And you'll be given the great gift, and then you can just go out there and do that work again. God knows, and I really do mean, God knows we need it. We're desperate. We are that battle-weary warrior. Please, please, please take us into your arms.
That's beautiful. I know so many of you on this call do require those codes and that union. So please have your name and email in the link below. And just if I could ask Anaiya, just one more thing to wrap up. If you had one sacred secret to really igniting your life and your beautiful feminine energy, what would that be?
My sacred secret is that in the worst of the worst moments, so the dark night of the soul, when you're really on your knees because you have just been bitch slapped by something horrendous, on the next breath is, let's call it the fierce feminine. So the fierce feminine is right there with you in the kernel, in the core of that huge dark void. And if you reach out to her, not only will she heal you, she will give you a great gift because you have fallen so deep. And that gift is your sacred birthright. It will never be taken from you. You will never doubt yourself again because it is so holy and so absolutely yours. But the problem is we fall into the dark night of the soul and we can stay there forever. because we've forgotten how to pray, or we've forgotten how to ask for sacred help. So in the worst depression, in the worst bankruptcy, in the worst divorce, there is an almighty sacred gift waiting for you. Your wisdom, your intuition. And that is the truth.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here, Anaiya. It truly was an honor to have you here today.
Oh, likewise, Sophia.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions, great holding and steering of the conversation.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, listeners, if you are ready for this divine union of yourself and what you're wanting to create, please do put your name and email address in the link below, receive this wonderful activation, and listen again to what we went through earlier today, and just be in that beautiful feminine energy. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about Anaiya, go to anaiyasophia.com. Again, this is Pleasure Principles, Sacred G-Spot Secrets to Igniting Your Magic, Money, Sex, and Business. And we will see you tomorrow for another juicy, beautiful love moment just for you. Ciao for now.